Hi, so welcome back to another video. Today we're addressing the risk assessment maps that Aaron in the morning has put together of the anti-trans policies shaping up across the United States. And Aaron did a fantastic job of covering what's going on in these maps and giving a visual representation because some of us are visual learners. I feel like showing these maps really kind of puts a realistic perspective of what's actually going on. Nobody's coming for your rights. What rights did you? Well, we've talked about it. Let's show you the maps. Let's talk about some stuff. So hi, welcome. I know there's been a bit of a tone shift with me. It's been really hard to cover everything that's going on. It really just hurts to see what's happening, and things continue to shaping in the direction that they're going. So we're not going to make the intro too long. We're just going to hop into it. This is the map from August 2025, and at this point you can see Pennsylvania, my state, is light blue. We have Indiana, that's a light red, or middle of the road red. We have light red in Kentucky and North Carolina. We look at states that we already know now, that Kansas and Idaho have been relatively horrible for trans policies. I don't want to say relatively. They've been terrible. They've been absolutely terrible. So we're just going to try to talk about the do not travel states, essentially. The dark blue is the most protected states. They have the best protections for trans rights, trans care. The lighter blue are still pretty good. They could be better. I think largely Pennsylvania in this case is because there is a Republican Senate, and so it's a little bit harder to pass pro-trans stuff. But at the same time, Josh Shapiro's been the governor. He's blocked any sort of anti-trans anything. So I've been thankful for him for at least that, right? So to talk about what's going on, Florida and Texas on this map, the do not travel advisories. Florida has a law that allows for the arrest of transgender people using the bathrooms according to their gender identity. And another policy targets transgender people's driver's license. Florida has also put into effect a policy that says trans people misrepresenting their gender on their driver's license could be guilty of fraud, and has begun erasing pride crosswalks across the state. In Texas, the state is not only ignoring court-ordered driver's license changes for trans adults, but it is also creating a database on people attempting to make such changes. A database. So that's where we were at with trans adults. The legal risk assessment for trans adults in the United States doesn't look great. But at the same time, it's okay, it could go, either way. Maybe let's just if there was blanket protections for the trans community, maybe things wouldn't look so bleak. Again, August 2025. Here's the trans youth map. A little different. Indiana's darker red, do not travel. Pennsylvania is in light red, right? It's these are the things that stick out to me anyway. And while I've largely not been on the ball with trans youth care, it still kind of shows hey, this is where we're at here. But we're going to go back up to the adult legal risk assessment map. We're going to go to the next one, and this is February 2026. So from August 2025 to February 2026, this is where we're at. Comparatively, back and forth, we notice that Kansas gets darker, Arkansas. Anyway, we're going to stick with this. We already know what happened with Kansas. We've talked about these issues, but we're going to cover it again. So Kansas marks the most dramatic shift, becoming a do not travel state in a year after enacting a bounty-style law that allows private individuals to sue transgender people encountered in the restrooms for substantial amounts of money, legislation widely described by experts as among the harshest anti-trans laws in the country and one that could meaningfully affect interstate travel. Arkansas's risk level has also increased following the implementation of its public building bathroom ban, and Indiana has escalated into its highest tier due to a sweeping anti-trans identification document law. One state improved, and that was Montana. It was the first to see its risk profile lowered as a result of cumulative court rulings and injunctions, with the state constitution and courts repeatedly blocking enforcement on anti-trans statutes, leaving little of the legislative agenda currently operative. So, not great. I mean, not super big of a change on the adult care map. At the same time, in that whole, timeline between now and then, there was all of these anti-trans news articles popping up. A lot of them did not say for just trans youth. You had to go into the article and read it. It was very fear-mongery to someone like me. It was very fear-mongery to the adult trans women that are in my network. Very scary times. So again, now we're going to go down from the adult map in August 2025 down to the kid map, and we're going to go to the kid map here. So before we go, kid map August 2025, kid map now in February. Not now, but February. A lot of changes, right? A lot of changes. And that's largely because care can't start for trans youth until over 18, even if it's puberty blockers in some cases. Some states raising the minimum, like the requirement to be over the age of 19 to start medically transitioning. So not great for trans youth, and these are real children that are just being politicized, that maybe if you don't know what's going on, you shouldn't be dictating it, but it's hard. It's really hard to just... it's frustrating. We're going to go to the most recent map now. So once again, we're going to scroll up to the adult maps real quick. So bear with me. And we're going to July 2026. So August, February, July. The difference between February and July. Adult care doesn't look too crazy or too bad. At the same time, we're living through the Heritage Foundation trying to label like the transgender ideology is like something that should be, it's just labeling the existence of trans people is something that we're just going to like outlaw, right? So I was trying to think of my words. It's early. I'm stressed. Bear with me. It's hard, and this is the thing. You get your news from like non-trans people for this, and it's not as authentic. But this is like a trans person trying to actually talk through this. This is the level of frustrations that this has brought us, that it's hard to like get through it. So this is the July map, and obviously the big change is Idaho here. So Idaho moved into the highest risk level on this map. Do not travel. This is not a move. This is not an move ever taken lightly. Okay. With the passage of Idaho's felony bathroom ban with up to 5 years prison sentences, the state firmly belongs in this category. Though a lawsuit has partially blocked the law remains in effect anywhere a gender-neutral or family restroom exists, meaning transgender people must search for gender-neutral bathrooms, or else they may risk a felony in Idaho. In South Carolina, the bathroom ban there has been expanded to colleges and universities, raising the risk level in the state. And I do want to just remind you once again, if we didn't go to war with Iran for no reason, we could have put a public gender-neutral bathroom in pretty much every public facility 2 to 7 times over is what the estimate of like cost on that would have been. We could have covered adult trans care for 13 to 50 or plus years. We would have run out of trans people to actually take care of. But instead we choose this hatred, right? And so this is where we're at with adult care. And so we're going to go back one more time. We're scrolling back down. Trans youth, August 2025, February 2026, and trans youth now. Most recent. Very much the same, but still very terrifying. It just feels bleak. It feels bleak to look at these maps, and I don't want to like leave you in just like this negative news cycle kind of headspace with all of this, because there are, well, another bad one. Over 400,000 transgender people have moved states since Trump's re-election, and this was January 8th, 2026 when this was reported. As far as like the actual numbers, I mean, I'm not sure how we're getting this data when people are largely, needing the stealth, needing to like, but if this was like documented trans people moving, I would imagine the actual numbers are higher. And to have to like relocate, to have to like take everything and move kind of thing, just because of some laws and policies. This is the land of the free, right? Here's some like good news though that I haven't really talked about. This was July 1st. New Jersey finally passes Trans Care Shield law, the last blue state to do so. And I'm just brushing over this, but Governor Pritzker signs law protecting trans patients by removing testosterone from government monitoring program. This was July 7th. And this one's a little bit older, but Mayor Mondani announces the $15 million for youth care providers in New York City, and that was June 26. So there is some good news. It's been more good news than bad news lately, I feel like. But at the same time, it's just like, still, the map is clear. The intent is clear. It's taxing. It is all encumbering for some of us even. And so it's not exactly correlative in a sense that like this is exactly how things are going, but I do feel like there's enough of a connection to kind of show you something else that I feel like is worth presenting. And like, does anybody remember the Native Americans that used to live in the United States, right? Before, here's the American Indian reservations on a map. And so what's going on with this map, we'll make it bigger. The federal American Indian reservations versus state American Indian reservations. And you see that there's only so much land that's provided. There's largely been, not the best handling, forced removal. Reservations functioned as containment, military force enforcing land seizures. The Docks Act broke up tribal land. Tribal sovereignty was undermined. Later reforms were limited. Long-term economic damages remained. And so just to give another example of like, kind of like the direction we're going, I mean, it feels a little bit, but at the same time, I do want to bring up the adult map one more time, the most recent one. And so the thing about this is that I just feel the American dream of somebody that like wants to travel, somebody that wants to go across the country, somebody that wants to take an airplane, somebody that doesn't want to be bothered by TSA agents. Hey Nancy, remember that one, Nancy? Remember being bothered by TSA agents? Um, I'm not sure why you want to enforce policies that you're going to be bothered by more TSA agents, but that's where we're at. Like, that's where we're at. And if you want to just go across the country, it's unsafe. I have people in California that I'd like to visit. There's people in Washington that I'd like to visit. If it's not a financial thing, if it's not like oh, I just had surgery and there's pressure in my like nose and stuff, and or like, oh, I don't want to get sick or something. It's the fear. It is the absolute fear of travel and knowing the risks associated. It's not the best time to be trans in America, right? So I'm just scared what the future holds, just because, like I said, with the recent ruling with the sports ban of the trans women in women's sports and the language provided in that, how that can legally shape things moving forward. But speculation does nobody any good. I still think it's also worth noting this is a comment that somebody left on one of my comments on YouTube, which I feel like is a really good point that I didn't think about before. The trans thing is pretty much the last bastion that Republicans can come together on. You really can't get away with the overt black racism and get tons of cheers. You really can't do anti-Semitism because of Israel. Picking on Asians doesn't seem to excite people. Trans is all they have left, and even that is getting old. People are getting tired of hearing the same talking points. I really hope that's true. I really do hope that people are just like tired of like seeing hatred being portrayed, and whose life has gotten better by being transphobic. I'm just curious, like who that has taken their time to like all encompass this community by like putting out your negative energy. What has that done for you? Until the next video.